Welcome back, sleepyheads. We are continuing our discussion on why you put your partner on a pedestal. And in the first part, of course, I rambled, but we also discussed the first reason being overgiving, and a lot of that stemming from childhood responses to conditioned love, just a lot of obligations and expectations surrounding the way you received, and breaking from that learning process and being okay with that journey of breaking through that learning process, because that's what it's going to be. And the best thing I learned so many things in my singlehood journey, but another good thing I learned is the journey itself of love. And I've come such a far way, and I've learned so much. And I think even though I've been single, I've been breaking a lot of generational patterns, and that is the second reason I believe you may be putting your partner on a pedestal. Generational patterns. So one thing, it's hard for women to talk about their relationship patterns, and I don't like to use the word failures, but just to keep it simple, relationship failures, right? There's so much shame, there's regret, there's sadness, there's anguish, there's anger. There's so much that women, especially in older generations, had to accept from, their counterparts, and so much that they internalized, and that fortunately got passed down and passed down. And so you really have to think about your grandparents and your mother and your aunts, and if you don't have any of that in your life, think about the TV shows that you watch, or wherever you were receiving most of your environmental, this is what love is supposed to look like, So that is a big factor. But one, I want you to think about the history, and then think about what patterns you're repeating from that history. And then from there, you're going to think about the behaviors and thoughts that need to change so you don't repeat those same patterns. I think that is a huge aspect. Just want to make sure I covered everything on that one. Need to change. Yeah, pretty much everything. But that is huge. And generational patterns are sensitive because a lot of families don't like to talk about those sort of patterns. A lot of people don't like to acknowledge, how they absorbed their relationship knowledge, So it's a sensitive subject, but it's essential if you're really going to break that habit of putting someone on a pedestal, because you can think about insecurities that are generational, generational issues that have impacted your own sense of self and security. So there's just so many layers to that, and a lot of it is generationally systematic. And I think it's really and maybe it's like a heightened complex if you're Black or of some brown ethnicity, but you feel a lot of pressure to do for your ancestors because they struggled so much. And I don't know, I feel such a, I communicate with my ancestors a lot, and I'm fully aware of, their desire to see me like excel, but it's not like pressure. It's just like, I know that I'll, accomplish all the things that I want to accomplish at the end of the day, but, getting there is a whole nother story. And as you get there, you have this, well, I don't want to disappoint anybody, especially my ancestors, right? So it's interesting. It's a whole complex, and maybe I'll talk about that in another episode. I forgot how I got there too, but that's okay. We're moving along. Okay, so another part, number 3, is letting go of changing your perceptions of your bad relationships, not internalizing them, not perceiving it as your fault or there being something wrong with you. Because at the end of the day, there's no guidebook for relationships. Parents don't really sit down and teach you what a healthy relationship what a healthy relationship looks like, because they didn't have that experience and their parents didn't have that experience. The Matrix for so long has gotten away with dictating the programming for relationships, and we're going to get into that in a second, but just remembering that yes, you had that experience, but that experience was for you and it wasn't working against you. And that's really hard to do as you're grieving a relationship, and maybe somebody said something really negative, or maybe, other things occurred in the relationship that were harmful to your wellness, whatever it may be, whatever is giving you that perception that you did something wrong. But there's nothing wrong with you and you didn't do anything wrong. Rejections are truly protection. And one thing you can always look back on is being grateful that you didn't have to waste any more time with a certain person than you did, but outside of rejections being protections, you had that experience to learn from it. You were meant to have that experience to learn from it, and it sounds weird and that can be perceived on so many spiritual layers, but you really truly did have that experience. And yes, you attracted it, but it reflected who you were at that time. And at least you have that, if you can have that ability to perceive it in that sense of that's where you were, that's who you were, that's what you were learning at the time, and this is where you are now, and that's how you are able to perceive that sense of healing in your journey. And you have to look at it that way, because nothing was wrong. Rejection sucks and it's hard to go through, and I've been rejected plenty of times in my life, and I've had to reject people too, and it sucks and it's emotional and it's weird and you feel guilty, and it's a whole thing, especially if you're highly empathic and you can perceive how the other person feels. But at the end of the day, just remember that every experience is giving you that chance to rewire your brain, rewire your understanding of love, rewire your responses to rejection and heartache and disappointment. You are just giving this opportunity to keep rewiring. And maybe that's why sometimes it feels like you're repeating an experience, it's because you're still rewiring the necessary channels so you have a different response and so you can attract a different experience, right? Yeah, there's a lot of layers to that, but just really focusing on the fact that you can change your perception on these things, and you don't need to internalize anything. You're not a bad person. You're just not meant to gel with everyone. And it sucks how some situations end, but it's truly a blessing at the end of the day. But yeah. So for lastly, building the belief in yourself that you are enough. And you know, I want people to think of this in terms of like confidence, you know, confidence being a skill. Sometimes feeling like you're enough can be a skill. And I say this because we live in a society that is constantly going to challenge you and tell you that you're not enough. And it's going to present you with 100 different ways every day. And you're going to have to go through that spiritual battle and really build that shield of knowing and security that you are enough, you know. Because I say programming, I mean, yes, this can come from childhood and other experiences, but if it isn't, if you've healed those complexes, recognize that it comes from society. And you can think about culture, different trends, whether it's dating trends. A good example is casual sex. Like if we, at a certain point, casual sex was very taboo in society. And it's great that we can be more open about it and people are free. But at the same time, you have to recognize that it's the media that normalized casual sex. And that normalizing of casual sex was presented to the youth. And now what's being normalized is sex work. And that is being presented to the youth. And so it's truly changing cultural trends, and that programming, you know, you have to be aware of it. And I wasn't aware of it as a teenager when I'm like watching Lizzie McGuire and Sister Sister, and oh my god, I watched Sister Sister. Last year I was watching like the first few seasons. I don't know why I'm losing my voice. It's probably because I'm talking about important things. My chakra's being attacked. Let me take another drink. Shit. That's gnarly. But yeah, I was watching Sister Sister and I was just shocked by like the intensive focus on the daughter's boyfriends. It was so much about their boyfriends. And you know, the first 2 seasons weren't too bad, but these girls had serious dating lives as teenagers. And so I truly did grow up thinking like, because I wasn't having that experience, something was wrong with me. And something was wrong with my life and my lifestyle and the way I was growing up, and I was not developing in the way that I should. But it's not normal to focus that much on dating. And it sucks because for a huge chunk, especially in middle school, when, you know, these shows are really dominant in my life, like Lizzie McGuire, Sister Sister. I mean, there's so many shows, from Family Matters to Step by Step. What's that show? Full House. Yeah, Full House. All those fucking shows. But all of that focus that they try to put to young girls to date, and that programming for them to focus on dating, to focus on their beauty, to focus on being desirable, instead of focusing on learning, like that's what pisses me off about that programming. And because it absolutely worked. It distracted me when I was in middle school, when I could have been learning more, when I could have been just not. I mean, of course you're going to focus on boys. School does that to you, and like hormones and all of those things. But I can't imagine that it would be as intensive as it was if the media weren't programming teens to have serious dating lives, you know. And, you know, when the girls were still in high school, they stopped looking like they were in high school. Like, they looked like grown women. Like, I don't know. There was just, it sucked. I hate being like, I'm gonna rewatch this old show, and like, it's the worst fucking shit, and you're just fucking annoyed. Like, I was, gosh, I've been trying to like rewatch the X-Files, but I can't just do like a whole episode by episode because the pace is so slow sometimes and I will fall asleep. But Mulder, like, his character is such a is a brat. He's such a brat. I don't know. A lack of self-control. I don't know. Just weird dynamics, and yeah, I don't know. Oh, maybe I'll do a whole rant about that. But I don't want to get too off topic. But I mean, let's see. I wonder if that's all I wanted to say. Pretty much. Oh, yeah. One thing I wanted to say. In that battle, in this world where you're supposed to have a BBL or be really skinny or move this fat there and cheekbones this and like all that, and even your hair, you know, the hair journey is a hair journey, and it hits every woman in a different way. It truly does. And every male too, excuse me. Every individual, excuse me, it's even worse. But I want to say that as you build that sense of being enough in yourself, a good trick is just to start worshiping yourself. And I say this in the most non-narcissistic way, but you have to learn almost what it's like to overgive to yourself and then come back, and then you can meet somebody halfway and find that balance, you know. But overindulge yourself, be really selfish for a little while, you know, really focus on yourself and think about your health physically. Like, what vitamins are you going to start taking? Like, what foods are you going to remove from your cabinets and your refrigerator? You know, how many walks will you start taking every week? You know, and me, my biggest thing is, you know, I'm going to be coming out of my hermit shell. And I say my hermit shell because I intentionally, like, I'm not as social as I, like, appear to people, especially at work. I think people forget that I have to be social sometimes. And I, you know, want to be authentic and give good energy, so I do that. But outside of work, like, you know, you may not see me for like 2 days. I like to be alone. I need to recharge, and I need to like get my thoughts out and like do my creative work. Like, I need my time alone. Yeah, but I'm working on like not being so selfish about that, giving more of my time to others, you know. I've just been in a period where I haven't done that for a while. But yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this little discussion about why you may be putting your partner on a pedestal and the reasons why and how to overcome that. And again, we are all learning on this journey. We are all constantly rewiring, and we are all hopefully fighting negative programming about relationships, love, and sex. Yeah, so that's it. I am your host, Leigh. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting me. Like, share, subscribe, donate, tune in. Who knows what the next episode would be about? You know, this was completely unplanned. I was supposed to take a bath, and stop working, but I haven't stopped. I like have so much energy. It's crazy. I think it's like that 666 portal shift or something. And I don't mean that in like any Masonic way. I just mean in the harmonic, like things are coming into balance, efforts paying off, like trauma, toxins, like negativity being released, all that stuff. Nothing crazy. But yeah, tune in next time. I'll see you again. Bye, guys.